earlier that some persons would need to buy this, but they need credit to be able to get these things.
You know what excites me, I'm quick to say this, I don't work for government, okay?
Yeah. Right.
I still volunteer. Is that the president has approved, I think 1.5 trillion or so, if my data is right, for Bank of Agriculture. And the Bank of Agriculture MD told me in person last week and said, you go get me the youths and see if we will not fund them. If you don't bring them into the structures needed, the funding may have a challenge. And said, if you don't get the youths to come, the funds cannot sit idle. When the big farmers come, they will take the money. So he put the responsibility back on us, said, galvanize your network across the country and bring these youths, but be willing to contribute, which is monitor these youths, but we will fund them. So in terms of funding, the National Agricultural Fund also, headed by the Executive Secretary, Mohammed, a young person too. So when it comes to funding, the government has improved, dramatically on how things will be done. So bottom line is that everything is going at the same pace, at the same time, the way we have been clamoring for it. My fear and my concern is that, and the irony of Nigeria, is that Nigerians are trapped in Nigeria's past. Nigerians are trapped in Nigeria's past.
Expatiate, please.
Now, so because we have been used to things not working, we've been used to government brings it in, it ends up somewhere else. Many people are not taking advantage of it. It's the foreigners that are taking advantage of many of these policies meant for Nigerians. So we need to be able to communicate more. I have said it, the administration is still not doing very well with media communications around the opportunities they are creating. Especially targeting the youth. We need more on that. The funding is there, the enabling environment is there, more experts are there, practical. So we need that communication. That gap of communication needs to be filled. We need more television programs, we need more radio programs so people know where what is.
Yeah, that's right. So if you look at Belarus now, this came from Belarus, but we see the contiguity of Belarus to Russia-Ukraine war. I guess that's one of the reasons why they couldn't deliver last year.
Yeah.
But are we not looking at the challenges of bringing this in, looking at the foreign exchange? Is it not cost effective for us to think of how to produce this, to manufacture this locally? I think there was something that we did, the partnership we did between government and John Deere in 2022, but that large scale production remains a challenge. So is there a way we can, have to manufacture this in this country so that we reduce the cost of production?
So there was a conversation with the Minister of Agriculture, I think sometime last year, and he made mention of some young person in Jos and some other areas in the country who are also assembling smaller tractors that will be explored now. But most of the lands need heavy equipment to first work on them before the lower capacity tractors manufactured in the country. So I believe the next phase is for the minister and the ministry and finance to look inward. But everything is still imported.
Yeah.
Even the small assembled or manufactured tractors in the country, you still import the engine, you still import everything.
Isn't that a worry for you?
Well, it's inevitable. That's how it works globally. Everybody imports. Russia imports. US imports. Everybody imports. We cannot eliminate imports. Food security in any country is not dependent on that country. There's a component that the country will focus on, which is their strength, and leave the remaining. But everybody, by the time if Ajakuta, comes into operations, then the plow, arrows, the implements they can start with that and move into the next level. We're hopeful that Ajakuta is crucial to food security.
Absolutely.
Because all the implements deal with the steel.
Yeah, that's great.
So once that is on board, but before then, we need to also understudy. And the good thing with what government is doing right now is they're not just bringing parts. assembling and manufacturing will take up in another phase. So it's a process. So we get our people to understudy how to work these things before we decide we want to set up. You know, a company brought in tractors some years ago just to find out that there were no tractor drivers as a business. So there's a process, a whole lot of value chain. So we need to train more operators who will not flog these machines. Because when the tractor is new, if you see the operators driving a brand new tractor, they just drive like, you know, people speeding on the main road. They see stones, instead of avoiding, they run it into...
Yeah, so it's a tractor, so you can withstand any terrain.
But the wear and tear, the maintenance, mechanization is hinged on maintenance.
That's another issue.
So, you see...
Do we have that on the ground?
We have many youths being trained. But most importantly, we have many rural youths willing to be trained because they earn per day. And the average youth today wants to buy data or something.
That's correct.
So this mechanization helps to bring the rural youths on board to learn fast because it helps them with their daily pay.
Now, you mentioned something earlier, talking about the fact that Nigerians are still living with the ghost of the past, thinking things are not working and all, and so giving room for foreigners to take advantage of this. How do we address that aspect? Because when you go to some other countries, it is the indigenes first as against foreigners. But here, what can we do really? That's my question, to ensure that we take advantage and just allow the foreigners to say, you know what, just take a backseat first of all. Let's engage our people first.
So one of the things that need to happen is what I'm doing on this seat today, giving eyewitness accounts. We need people who see what is working and the progress happening to report it. It should be less of government reporting what they are doing. So the more people who are bold, who are passionate, who are patriotic, needs to come out to say, I'm saying this is moving in the right direction. Government needs to fund media. During elections, politicians are hinged on media and communications and campaign. We need those strategies that they adopt during election to bring in here.
Shouldn't that be part of the budgeting of the ministry itself?
Yes, it's part of the budgeting, but beyond, not just ministry, even the Asorok Villa needs to double the ministry. Finance is funding, okay? So finance also needs to talk. But bottom line is we need word of mouth. We need to showcase, and by the time these tractors are deployed, we need more people, you know, we need to know where they are going. Take, for instance, part of the fertilizers that President Tinubu, the 2.1 million, shared. One of the senators got some consignment. Senators got, honorables got. I was in a village in Itoikin, and I was talking to some farmers, and they told me that, if you have opportunity to go on radio, thank Senator Abiru. I've not met the man before. I said, why? They are non-indigens from Delta who are in the community there. They said they budgeted for them. And so they got the fertilizers as non-indigent farmers. And that word of mouth, they were asking me if I go on radio, I should say, which I've done now. So word of mouth moves.
That's right.
The impact needs to be shown.
So when we have the